Hi guys, welcome to Rosenfield 10. I'm Joe. I haven't done a video in months, and this is my video explaining why all of us right now in the world are going through this pandemic. But we here in South Louisiana had a little bonus tragedy at the end of the summer last year when we had Hurricane Ida come through. I live in Louisiana and I was here for Katrina. Katrina was a category 5, and I figured after Katrina I wouldn't see a storm like that again. I figured Katrina was a once in a lifetime thing. Now, how these hurricanes approach where you live dictates exactly what's going to happen to your property. So, Katrina hit my town in a way that the damage was relatively minimal, especially compared to New Orleans and what they endured. I here in Homa during Katrina, it was 4 days without electricity, a lot of wind damage in town, a lot of marquees and storefronts were damaged. But Hurricane Ida was something completely different for my town. My wife and I had just got this house at the beginning of last year. I was uh, I was happy with the house except for these pine trees that were surrounding the home, and I remember thinking to myself, well, if a bad storm comes through, these things could cause a problem. However, these trees had been up here for decades and decades, and they definitely endured Katrina and didn't come down, so I figured they were good to go. And my wife and I got the house, and the house itself held up pretty good during Ida. Now, if you've ever been through a storm, a major storm, natural disaster, then you'll understand what I'm going to explain here. I gotta say, first and foremost, that I still have my home and my family and I survived. So that's the most important thing. And I'll just let you know what we went through and what we're still going through now. And hopefully things will return to normal here pretty soon. So the storm hit at the end of August. We knew the storm was coming. We figured it would be somewhere between a 4 and a 5, category 4 and 5. We don't have a generator for the home, but we decided to stay put anyway. And I figured we'd lose electricity. We got electricity back after 4 days with Katrina, so I figured maybe, a week, and so we'll be able to handle it. So we have ice chests. We get the ice, we get the food in the ice chest. You know, if you've ever been through a natural disaster, the stuff I'm describing it's second nature. We live down here. We get hurricanes all the time, especially at the end of August. It happens all the time, so we figured we were prepared. We have batteries, flashlights. Okay, so we're good to go. We're hampered down, ready to go. The storm comes. It started at about 2 in the afternoon. The lights went out. The wind started to pick up. The house was holding up pretty good. The storm shutters were holding up really well. We weren't losing shingles or anything like that. But that wind was insane, and it just pounded us for hours and hours and hours. And the issue was these pine trees and this huge oak tree on the other side of the house, they did not hold up. A couple of the trees were actually uprooted out of the ground, and basically they started to fall all over the house. One pine tree came down on the garage. It's a connected garage, and my wife and I were in the garage at the time because we had a window open and we were smoking cigarettes and figured we wouldn't go outside even under the patio. The acorns coming off the oak tree were like bullets. They were shooting through the patio, and there was no way we were going to stand outside, even under a shelter. We figured the patio could go at any time too. So that pine tree came down on the garage, crashed into the garage while my wife and I were in there. Um, it smashed down through the garage, cracked in half, and smashed into the carport, which then collapsed on top of both of our vehicles. We had an oak tree on the other side of the house that just came apart and smashed the limbs into the top of the house. We ended up with holes in the roof. The trees came down on the fence, so there was a lot of damage to the fence as well. The carport's completely destroyed. And then we suffered a ton of water damage after the holes in the roof because it rained, pretty much for 12 hours. So we ended up with a lot of damage to the ceilings in the house. We lost a couple of walls in the house. We lost some carpet. Um, just about every room had some sort of water damage. And like I said, we were lucky we survived, especially with that pine tree coming down on our heads. We lost one of the vehicles. It was totaled. One of the vehicles is still running, and so we've got a way to go to and from work. And so the aftermath was probably the worst part. My wife had a hard time during the storm, but I think the aftermath was the worst. The electricity was off for 2 weeks. The temperatures were, in the lower 90s during the day. At night, it would drop into the 70s. Our home is made of brick and it stayed like an oven in here the entire time. The lowest the temperature in the house would ever get was about 86. It hovered around there, suffocating. You could open every window in this house, and because of the way the fence is positioned around the house, there was no airflow. So we went 2 weeks without lights. The town itself, just about every business, every residential neighborhood was affected with property damage. A lot of businesses still haven't opened in town. The businesses that did open slowly but surely, also had to deal with the fact that there were no lights in town. So when you're driving around town, you have to treat every stoplight as a four-way stop sign. We're used to this. And um, gas was hard to come by. You would have to get in line for gas, and sometimes it would take 2, 3 hours before you'd actually get to the pump. There were times when you'd be waiting in line for hours and only a few cars would move at a time because, they had to keep filling these things with gas, and they were very limited. So you could wait in line for hours and then be told they ran out. This kind of stuff happens the first week. Into the second week, you go to the grocery stores that finally do open and they're completely out of food because everyone's buying everything up. And it was a tough time. We woke up every morning at like 5 in the morning, and we'd go outside and try to do some damage control and then try to get to the store as fast as possible. You're charging your phone up in your car, sometimes sitting in your car for a good hour with the air conditioner on just to get some relief from the summer heat. Um, Taking very cold baths. And as soon as you get out of that cold bath in this Louisiana humidity, you're burning up again. It was tough. Eventually the lights came back on. a miracle the air conditioner still worked. We were able to have a demolition crew come in. We've got plastic all over the ceilings and walls right now, waiting to get everything straightened out with the insurance company so we can start the repairs. You know, the holes in the roof were tarped. One of the tarps have come off since then because of the strong winds we've had lately. It's just it's tough. You know, one vehicle now for my wife and I, plus a kid that goes to school. So we're having to readjust. We're having to balance everything right now. And yeah, it's been a rough go, but we made it. We survived, and hopefully we'll have this house back to normal this year. So that's what's been going on with me. That's the reason why I haven't done a video in a while. I've been working long, long hours. I've been working 6 days a week. It's been rough. It's been 4 or 5 months. It's been real tough. Not just the pandemic, which has caused a lot of problems, but this hurricane, specifically here in this town. We are completely understaffed. We're having to run on limited hours right now because of the fact that we don't have a staff. And yeah, it has to do with the hurricane and not the pandemic. It's a strange world right now I'm living in, but I'm here and I plan on doing more videos. So, y'all stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see what I can come up with in the weeks and months ahead. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joe, surviving Hurricane Ida. To this day, it's still a struggle.